Episode 64, Recapture Attempt of the Russians, May 1943. The attack has been repelled, and we sense how the tension is falling away from us. That worked out pretty well, and I think we've established a good defensive front here. The opponent has lost 5 tanks. He'll likely won't try anything again here, but with the Russians, one never knows how badly they might want to capture a fortified position. Then they won't care even about the cost in human lives. The smoke clears. We walk down to the bridge. The forward guards are positioned even further up front on the opposite bank, so they won't be surprised again by infiltrating Russian troops. The motorcycle riflemen here are acting as messengers. We're hoping that we'll accomplish something tomorrow with the reinforcements. The problem with regards to it all is that the corridor we established through the enemy positions up to this bridge is now susceptible for enemy attacks from the flank. This means that it's not sufficient to just send troops to us, but also that the pathway needs to be kept open and expanded to all sides. If this umbilical cord were to be severed, we'd have to again withdraw fighting and would have to make our way through dangerous Russian emplacements. Wait and see. We move up to the destroyed KV which had come up out of the depression in the ground. What a beast. I'd hit it behind the forward drive sprocket. The shell had somehow ignited the ready-held ammunition and blown off the turret. The still smoldering wreck with its blown-off turret is a good obstacle which no other tank is now able to pass. We take a look at the forward area and can see hundreds of dead Russians lying in front of the emplacements. The 20mm in the Panzer Taeter had hammered them relentlessly and shot the poor devils to shreds. It's time to head back. Near the huts, we meet a few comrades from the other tanks and chat with them about the Russians. The emplacements are being improved continuously, therefore, pits are dug out for the vehicles in order to provide better cover under artillery fire. During the day, nothing further happens, but I'm thinking that certainly during the night we get busy once again. After a good supper, the watchmen are assigned. I'm on duty till midnight, and I'm observing my sector from inside the turret. The night is pitch black, and not much can be recognized. Just before changing of the watch, it's getting busy. Scouting parties of the Russians are trying their luck, but the grenadiers and pioneers are on alert. A few tracer rounds stream through the night and illumination flares are going up. After 20 minutes, things become quiet again. After changing of the watch, I fall into a restless sleep. I dream a lot about home and about Gudrun, how my loved ones might be doing and what's new in my town. At 5 a.m., I'm abruptly awakened by artillery fire. My goodness, the Russian is up to something. Heavy calibers are impacting everywhere. Only the bridge is apparently not being shelled. We remain underneath the tank and are clawing into the ground. The entire sector is turned upside down. The Russian certainly wants a decision right here. He probably is going to attack in short succession. Minute after minute, the heavy chunks are flying in our direction. Impacts here and everywhere. Lumps of dirt and rocks are getting tossed against the tank. Shrapnel whizzes through the air and is hitting the turret and tracks. It just won't stop. How much ammunition do they actually have? After seemingly endless 90 minutes, the shelling slowly subsides, and it's time to get into the tank's combat compartment. We crawl out of our hole and climb onto the tank. All around us, everything seems to have been destroyed. Only close to the bridge, everything still seems standing. They apparently weren't taking any chances and left the bridge intact. The smoke clears, and already here they come. Again T-34s and a few BT-7. The small tanks are very fast and hard to hit. I'm glued to the optic waiting for my first target. The enemy tanks have already opened fire on our positions and are shooting the forward emplacements to bits. Under cover fire, our men are running back and are trying to reach the opposite bank. The Panzer have already engaged in the firefight. We hear from Tank Ursula that the main gun is defective, so we're the last 75mm long barrel which is able to dish it out. Who is seeking out targets for ourselves. Thus, the first BA is moving into my aiming point. Apparently it's gotten itself stuck somehow, or the track is off on one side. Regardless, permission to fire. I briefly readjust. The projectile is flying toward the enemy tank. In the magnification, I can still see the shell impact, and then the light tank is already blown apart. Change of target, a T-34 is eliminated by the Panzer, and the machine guns together with the 20mm are keeping the enemy soldiers down. Then a half-track receives a direct hit. The artillery piece is ripped off the rear. The crew is tossed around considerably, but here we can't make out more. The Russians keep advancing, and we try our luck with a T-34, which has advanced too far and is moving toward the wreck of the KV. It probably wants to use it for cover. I aim at the turret, the entire tank rocks from the recoil, and the shell flies past, too far to the right. The tank turret is now in the optic, but too quickly it's pushing down into a depression behind the remainder of the KV. Only a little bit of the turret remains visible. Nevertheless, I try my luck. It's not working. The shell misses above the turret of the enemy tank by mere centimeters. I can't get to it. I shout into the radio. Change of target. Another BT to the left of it. Again, our main gun is loaded. I attempt to get the fast tank into the optic. With a bit of a lead, I let the shot break and just managed to catch the rear drive wheel of the BT. It's spun around by the impact and tips over on its side. Apparently, the comrades inside the Panzer III have noticed this and are launching a shot into the soft underbelly of the light tank. Another shell is shot into the lightly armored chassis, and the tank is torn apart in a bright explosion. Damn! I hear over the radio. I turn the turret back and see a Panzer III in front of us on fire. Direct hit. That must have been the T-34 that we hadn't been able to engage. Rudolf, it's got to go. Otherwise, it'll mess up the entire emplacement, yells the commander. I can only see the main gun. That's too little of a target. I call for a high explosive shell. Therefore, the loader switches out the one in the breech. I'm taking a lot of time and try to take aim at the mantlet beneath the main gun. Like a goiter, the block of steel is hanging there. If I can hit that and just damage it with the explosion, the T-34 will be finished. The first shell goes too far to the right and too high, passing underneath the gun barrel. I readjust. Sweat is running into my eyes. I fire and hit. But what exactly? I can't see since the cloud from the explosion is enormous. The gun barrel of the enemy is now pointing in a different direction and seems to be out of commission. Apparently, the T-34 has got enough. It's rolling out from the depression and slides backwards into a crack in the ground. It's gone, and it won't be able to get back out of it, either. The battle rages on. We're looking for targets for our high-explosive shells. We join in shooting into the attacking waves of the Russians who are running into us, almost without any tank support. The emplacements on the opposite bank have been abandoned or overwhelmed. A few Russians are running back. The remainder digs in on the opposite bank. We won't be able to shoot them out of their foxholes. Damn crap. With a little bit of a delay, the German Air Force comes swooping in. A few fighter planes are coming in low at the Russians. With the onboard guns, the positions of the Russians are raked, and they're driven from the dugouts again. A string of Stukas under fighter cover is joining in, but continues to fly on, heading east. I'm standing on top of the turret trying to follow the planes visually. Only vaguely on the horizon do I see how the dive bombers are dropping their deadly cargo against to me invisible targets. Certainly again an artillery position or a staging area of tanks. The planes rush over our position a few more times and wag their wings. Courageous devils. That must be something to speed through the air and fight the enemy. But if one of the crates gets hit, it'll go down in a hurry. It's getting quiet in our position. We're waiting what the commander is bringing back from the small situational conference. By now it's noon, and we managed to kill us some rabbits. It's already smelling good and will turn into a feast if Ivan leaves us alone. The senior ensign returns back to the tank in time to eat. We're sitting in a makeshift shelter. He doesn't say anything, although he knows exactly that we're very curious. After taking in his food interminably slowly, he all-knowingly glances around the table and declares that we'll be relieved in a few hours. We're happy that it'll be going back again soon. Everything is prepared. We store our gear inside and on top of the vehicle. We're to go back with 3 tanks, the Pioneers as well. Toward 3 p.m. we get ready and are waiting for relief. Only It doesn't show up. Not until dusk. Can we finally hear vehicles approaching us from the west? Well, great. In the darkness, we won't depart any longer. The 2nd Combat Detachment is welcomed. The vehicles are being assigned to new positions. New departure for us at 6 a.m. the next day. All right then, at least the comrades brought along fresh provisions. It still turns out to be a nice evening. A smuggled bottle of port makes its rounds. Even the commander takes a swig, but admonishes us to leave it at that. Nevertheless, we're still standing watch. At midnight, it's my turn. I'm sitting inside the turret and look at the starry sky. What might Gudrun be seeing now? Actually, the same starry sky as I only a few thousand kilometers further to the west. Nothing else happens anymore, and we get ready early to get the tank out of our emplacement. The driver does a really professional job, and after minutes, Rosinante is sitting on the trail. The commanders trade off. We're driving toward the west. If all goes well, we should be back to our quarters in 8 to 10 hours. The Panzer III is driving in the lead. Behind that Ursula with its damaged barrel, then the armored personnel carriers, and we're at the tail. I sit back and let myself be rocked to sleep by the swaying of the tank. Hopefully, going back will work out better than the way in, and Ivan won't throw himself somewhere in between. A few days' rest would suit me well. My eyes fall shut. The previous night watch lets me fall into a deep sleep.